Hello and welcome to the last day of our summer summit, Digital Transformation in Pharma. My name is Otto Günther-Suse and I'm the Managing Director of the House of Pharma and Healthcare and hosting this session today. Our today's speaker is Joss Hertle. He has almost 20 years of experience in digital industry and 10 years in the healthcare world. He built up the team of Google Healthcare of the region Germany, Austria and Switzerland, and was head of digital business transformation at Sanofi CHC. Since April, he is managing partner and co-founder of the digital strategy consultancy Retinal. The title of his today's talk is 2020, the boost year for the digital health business. One remark at the beginning, if you have any questions, please use the Q&A window. We will focus the questions after the talk. Joss, the stage is yours.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Dr. Rose. Thank you very much for the invitation. I'm really happy to be here today. Credits to Professor Jochen Maast, who initiated the contact to me, and as well Michelangelo Canzoneri, who's an ex-colleague of Sanofi as well. And of course to Susanne Krieger, who arranged this presentation jointly with me. So thank you very much for having me. And you see my background, we have some palms, some seaside views. It's Friday, so happy Friday to everyone. And I'm really excited to share some of my thoughts and experiences jointly with you. So my headline is the boost year for digital healthcare business is 2020. And the reason why is that on the one hand, our Ministry of Health, Jens Spahn, has founded some laws around the DiGA called digitales Versorgungsgesetz is a new law around digital health. And as you know, some apps are already reimbursable by insurances. The mission of my speech today is, of course, to inspire you and to give you some thoughts out of my experience. As Dr. Russe already shared with you, so my background is tech, digital marketing, and healthcare. I worked some years for Google. That was a very great experience. I learned so much, and I was the fantastic part was that I was allowed to grow and build the healthcare business at the Google side. And yes, today I'm a digital consultant. I've co-founded Retinal, based in Frankfurt, and we co-work with digital health platforms with the pharmaceutical industry. And you get some glimpse and some insights from me in the course of this presentation. So happy to be here. I'm ready to kick off. And first question to you is, please remind this number because I want you to guess what's behind this number. This is 150 billions. And in the end of this speech, I will ask you what do you think this number is about. Yeah, why boosting? Why is this the time for healthcare business and the melting point of digitalization in healthcare? So of course we're all impacted by COVID, and we're in the midst of a very tough time for the digitalization. COVID actually was the catalyst movement for our industry, because a lot of things which were not possible in the past are now in the current movement. I have some trends out of the German population. You see, this is a search term, search trends from Google around online pharmacies. It could be the same for online doctors and telemedicine. You see here, this graph shows how exploding this business was in March and April this year. We not had only companies who were in a bad shape during the first months of COVID. There have been companies who we can call winners. So mail order pharmacies, for example, experienced an all-time high on the stock market. And Shop Apotheke just announced 2 weeks ago that they acquired 500,000 new customers in Q2 of this year. So you see on the left-hand side that Shop Apotheke is one of the biggest European online pharmacies founded in Germany, located in the Netherlands. And you see the Zur Rose Group, which is the group around Doc Morris. So the company behind Doc Morris, based in Switzerland. And you can see it's all in green, and they just ticked their all-time high because the user behavior, the patient behavior totally changed within the first month of COVID towards online sales and e-commerce. Within this period of time where we're in, we see that mega trends were evolving. So, for example, you see that the market capitalization of Tesla, for example, is now as big as the top 3 car brands of Germany. So you know that Elon Musk is currently building a company, a new campus in Brandenburg in Germany. And this is really remarkable because you see that Tesla is merely a software company and in that battery business, and they have a super different approach to automobile than the German old manufacturers, who in my eyes didn't really understand how important software is, because in the future all the mobility is around software and not hardware. And that's the reason why Tesla is so successful these days. A lot of people, a lot of headlines around Tobias Lütke. You see, Tobias Lütke is this nice guy, the founder of Shopify. He has German roots, but he founded his company in Canada. It's Shopify. Shopify has a tremendous growth behind it, and it's still not the end of their curve. And Shopify is bigger at the stock market than Daimler and BMW combined. So this is really remarkable. A lot of people are talking about Tobias Lütke. It's a nearly German story, but unfortunately he vested his company in Canada. Yeah, crazy things happening around us. And that's what I want to emphasize you as you just have begun your career, or you want to dig deeper in pharma and digital. So social commerce is a super trending topic. It's booming in China. It's turning over billions of dollars and euros. And what you can see is that this mega trend is you don't have only influencers. You have influencers who have live shows through different social channels, and they're really boosting own products and products of other manufacturers. So that's really remarkable. Some of those influencers, they really earn millions as well, and they're able to reach huge audiences. You see that lady on the left-hand side here. So she's not talking to almost 40 smartphones. What she's doing is she's communicating and selling products through 40 different channels simultaneously. And this is really overwhelming. When I saw those pictures, you see that one too many channels is a given standard already. And sometimes I'm really a little bit frightened, because we're in Europe, we're quite behind. So it's we're more used to have influencers who are communicating to 1 or 2 channels which they really own. But you see here how this business is evolving. So really interesting. That's something which really thrives me. And I want to hand over to the pharmaceutical industry. That's something where where you potentially plan to boost your career, or you're already employer of a pharmaceutical company or a healthcare startup or somewhere around, or you tend to join the pharmaceutical industry. it's a really interesting and the most fascinating time to be in that industry, because digitalization is the driver of this pharma rock solid business. So this is again, I'm always looking into what people search for, what people are interested in. You see, this is a graph of healthcare artificial intelligence. People have been typing in the Google search on a global basis in the past 5 years, and you see the blue graph is skyrocketing. So you see how artificial intelligence in healthcare is a very dominant requested search term. And in the course of this speech, I will tell you something around this. You know that often we hear that people are talking about big data, of data analysis, of BigQuery, of artificial intelligence based on data, and so forth. I've grabbed a very simple and nice gimmick from the web. So to explain how businesses, and especially pharmaceutical businesses, are developing in the data sphere and the data in the data area, you can very easily see how we're going to take steps. So first of all, it's very important that companies collect data, and out of this data they transform information. If they have the knowledge and capabilities on board, they're merely able to get some knowledge or build knowledge out of it. And this is nothing if you're not able to really understand a data. So as long as you don't know what kind of coherences, trending topics, or insights are behind data, you won't be able to generate insights. But that's the most important job to do. You see it's left down here, insights. And just if you are able to create insights, you can generate some wisdom out of it, and potentially or hopefully create unicorns. I think that's a very simple graph, which is describing the whole topic of a data-driven business. And you know that the company Merck, the pharmaceutical company where Michelangelo Canzoneri, one of your professors, is currently working or just joined. Merck is run by Stefan Oschmann. He's, in my eyes, a visionary person. He had a very interesting audio podcast with Handelsblatt Disrupt just 2 months ago in July. I listened to it, so I can recommend and share the link with you as well. So his quote is, in biopharma or healthcare overall, there are more and more data-driven business models, and his opinion is that biomedical research is not longer working without big data. So that's very important for you as well. So you see that the pharma business is going more into the data-driven direction. And what Merck did several years ago, they founded a joint venture jointly with Palantir. You know that Palantir is one of those companies, these obscure companies, which are quite criticized. Anyhow, Merck is already running a data business. Their joint venture is called Siltropy, and it's a California-based data company. And the reason behind is, of course, to generate or to develop data-driven patient treatments. And you see some news and headlines around Palantir. The founder actually comes from Germany as well. He has German roots. And the interesting thing is that Palantir is just close to their IPO. It will be in the course of the next weeks. And the founders behind are quite sure that they will drive value-driven data business for the pharmaceutical business as well. Heading over to what is happening outside. you see, and that's something which I want you to know and to emphasize and make you very bold in taking your decisions. You have a playground ahead. Every one of you who are currently working for pharmaceutical companies or planning to do so in the near future. You see the landscape of companies is really exploding. You see on the left-hand side, so this, this CB Insights, I digged it out of one of the LinkedIn posts in the healthcare community I'm in. This is quite actual, it's 2020, and you see the different sections where companies are already founded and have a business model. On the right-hand side, it's more clearer. Those are businesses who already are quite big, who have business models in place and often are able to get reimbursements from insurances because they have very decisive or special business model, helping patients to have, for example, a better diagnosis or a digital therapy combined to their, let's say, haptical medicines. Maybe you have potentially heard of Dr. Lip or Cry, it's called, it's a Swedish company. You've potentially heard of Teleclinic. It's in one of those columns on the right-hand side, or Temedica. It's a Munich-born digital company, or Digi-Health, which is quite huge as well. So you see, there are so many things happening based on digitalization in healthcare and based on new legislation, which allows companies, digital companies, to step in this formerly very regulated market. For you, it's a big opportunity because a lot of companies which have a lot of demand of skilled, interested, curious people. And one example is the acquisition of Teleclinic. It's as well Munich founded company in the year 2015. They just sold their business to Doc Morris 2 months ago. And the interesting thing is that Teleclinic has a very convenient service. So I will tell you a very personal story I experienced some weeks ago. So my daughter, 10 years old, she was suffering from mosquito itches, and she had a very let's say bad feeling and skin irritations, I would say. And it was a classical phenomenon. It was a Saturday afternoon. So in a normal world in Germany, it would have taken at least 5 hours to drive down to the derma clinic, to a kids hospital with a dermatology branch. You wait several hours in the waiting room. It takes a lot of time to get your recipe. You have to drive to the next pharmacy. It's Saturday afternoon, so not all of the pharmacies in Germany are open, and so forth. So in a nutshell, this whole process of normally waiting 3 to 5 hours, it was cut down to half an hour, because we've downloaded the Teleclinic app, and we've made a virtual appointment with a dermatologist. We got a call on an appointment half an hour later. So we were uploading 2 pictures of the skin of my daughter. So my daughter was allowed to get back to play with her friends. So she was out of the game after 2 minutes, and no bothering anymore for her. And we were managing everything through that app. So very easily. The doctor called, he looked at the pictures and said, so that's not too serious for your daughter. What I will do is I will submit the recipe through the app. That's what happened. Then just seconds later, we could choose the next pharmacy around the door with help of the app. And this whole process was managed within minutes. So very convenient. So this is the world we're in. So doctors get platforms as well. Doctors are platforms, and it's all about convenience. You see how the old world is getting under pressure because you have new business models which are made for patients. So my personal win was, of course, the commodity, and at least I saved a lot of time, hours. That was really great. So the only thing I had to pick up the prescription and the medicine in the pharmacy next door. It wasn't too far, but I was really enlightened by this process. Of course, you can't apply those kinds of apps for every condition. But in this case, it was super helpful. Just a very personal experience for me. Maybe some of you already experienced the same, so that was really awesome. And what happens outside is that companies like Doc Morris, today it is an online pharmacy, but tomorrow there will be a healthcare marketplace. What they try to do, and this was shared by within a virtual conference in April by Olaf Heinrichs, the CEO of Doc Morris, is that they want to bring their transaction business. So today it's you buy a product online on their platform, and you got it delivered 2 days after. They want to have a holistic approach to patients, where the patients is of course in the center of everything they do. And you see a lot of convenient healthcare apps around it. If it's doctor appointments like Teleclinic or Crew, if it's something around your health and fitness through Apple and Fitbit. My Sugar, just as one example, around diabetes therapy and the accompanyship of an app if you suffer from diabetes. It's something around ADA Health if you need any kind of advice on a virtual way through ADA Health and so forth. So you see, it's huge. This was blasting off my mind when I've seen this approach for the first time, and I was easily stunned how far this model is already evolved. And if you are a Doc Morris customer, you will see that on the long run, you will get help in nearly every section or category concerning healthcare. And of course, there are some other really great but exaggerating movements as well. So this is Timo Arina. I've seen Timo Arina last year on a conference. He's a biohacker. He's from Finland, a great guy, super impressive, and he's on the forefront of quantifying himself. So he is monitoring tools like rings, a watch, a sensor for his head movements. He's tracking nearly every sensitive topic of his body, and he's the protagonist of someone who's convinced that based on his own personal data feed, he's able to lead a healthier life. And this is a screenshot I've got from the internet, from one of his websites. So sorry, Timo, this it's not stolen. It just helps to expose the development you've taken. You see how he's tackling a stressful day in this graph. On the left hand, you see this is a very stressful day he's experiencing. There's an index number of 49, so it's quite stressful. You see the orange bars on the left-hand side down with a lot of peaks. And on the right-hand side, very simply visualized, you see how he's able to de-stress, to get down his stress level by taking breathing actions. And you see his index is 22. You see the blue bar, you see the little blue peaks. So it's the same stressful day, but with mindfulness and awareness that breathing techniques is helping to have a less stressful day. he manages his healthiness. I think that's super remarkable. That's just one snippet. That's just one example of how you can manage your stress level. But that's the world we're in. So super impressive. And this is another snippet from his website. You see how many different metrics he can apply for different life situations, like sleep, like recovery, like heartbeat and everything. So I don't want to share too much from him because he is sharing everything he does. Just a glimpse of how he runs his life database. There's another example of 3D visualization of arterial blood vessels. That's quite new. It was just shared on LinkedIn. Super impressive as well. And who of you, I mean, your students in the healthcare world are very interested in digital transformation. So if you want to have an insight into what kind of experiments are happening there, and of course, not everything is super positive. There's some shady aspects as well. Look into BioHackers. That's a Netflix series actually produced in Berlin. It's live now. It's in the Netflix library, and this is focused on synthetic biology as well. So have a look into it. It's very interesting, very inspiring if you want to see the dark side of this development. But you see, all this artificial intelligence topics are already mainstream. So if it wouldn't be mainstream, there would not be a Netflix series around it. And this brings me to the topic of algorithms, machine learning, deep learning. So those are the three layers or the three phases of artificial intelligence, because often it's not very clear what's behind it. And you see, artificial intelligence is a blockbuster business for healthcare. So I'm quite sure that most of you who are very young will have a lot of share points in your career concerning artificial intelligence. You've seen that a lot of investments in the past years were driven through artificial intelligence, machine and deep learning. So more than, for example, compared to telemedicine or genomics or sequencing. This is the biggest chunk of investment levels. So quite interesting, because a lot of pharmaceutical industry players are starting to invest or are already quite advanced. Some of them just take first baby steps, but it's a top trending topic. And here you go. So that's the number. So $150 billion, that's the number I showed in the beginning. This will be the monetary impacts on especially the pharmaceutical industry through artificial intelligence. So we're talking about savings. And you see that's huge. That's just the hypothesis or the prediction until year 2026. And just to clarify, we have three main areas of artificial intelligence in healthcare. And maybe that's some routes you will take in your career. So this is, of course, research empowerment. Of course, R&D will change dramatically based on artificial intelligence or deep learning. It's the discovery of new ingredients, of active ingredients. One reason behind this is it is faster, it is up to speed if you run your entirely discovery projects based on data. Second big chunk is patient and healthcare professional empowerment. That's medical image processing, for example, in dermatology. It's quite advanced. I will show you some examples. In radiology, it's already part of the game. Artificial intelligence, of course, should help based on big data databases or data lakes to derive better and faster diagnosis, to have better tools in patient support, even in communication between doctors and patients, and of course the whole hospital management will change based on artificial intelligence improvements. It's in the end, of course, it's a business amplifier. It includes innovative products, it's more efficient, it's up to speed, and it impacts operations within pharmaceutical companies. Marketing, of course, is influenced because the whole way of communication will change if you have real-time communication to patient, or the ability to create new communities where you can conversate with prospects or patients. Research has share points to the first bullet I made here, and of course pricing. So you see that's the three main pillars of the artificial intelligence development. That does not necessarily mean that we don't need people in the future. In my eyes, it's the opposite. So we need still human to run this business, but it's the combination of a doctor who has the capabilities to understand data, learn from it, apply data, and the same for marketing and management. So who of you will work for operations or marketing or research in pharma? I just can share with you, so that will be part of your business in the future. You will be always have some nuggets in the analytics and data game. I don't know if someone of you already experienced how great it is to make some pictures of your skin, and based on artificial intelligence, some clinics, dermatology clinics, are already able to run your dermatology condition through artificial intelligence, because it's far more granular, faster and better than the human eye is able to realize some changes. It's some of the, one example I already shared with you, that was my teleclinic experience with the upload of photos of my daughter. I think this is already reality, very, very fascinating. There was a Google example from the Google-run company Verily, so the 100% daughter company of Google. It's a deep learning company. It's a company who's in a lot of categories, healthcare categories like diabetes, like cardio topics and so forth. And here you see, based on their algorithms, the Google artificial intelligence can predict heart problems by taking scans from the macula of the eye. This is an example which has gone through the globe, I think 2 or 3 years ago. So you can see how artificial intelligence is helping in very, let's say, common risk areas for our health, like heart attacks. And how nice would it be to predict risks of heart attacks, numbers and database, if your smartphone is warning you that something in concern you have condition is changing, and you're risking a heart attack. So that's my eyes, that's awesome. And again, I want to explain how it is to understand this buzzword big data. So I found a very nice example in the net from New Medi. You see, this is the anatomy, that's the whole ecosystem of how big data / artificial intelligence is working. You see data sources on the left-hand side, like public data. It could be medical data from clinics. It could be data from a research institute, could be your own proprietary data. And then you have the heart of this business is you have structured data, curated and normalized data in this cloud, and based on machine learning and deep learning, which is connected then to those structured data, you're able to really amplify those data, and this is quite important. So the amplification through artificial intelligence, and that's the whole ecosystem, which ends in, you see in the red, in the next column. You can create new drugs. You can understand the impact of new ingredients. This is this topic of novel targets, or the creation of new biomarkers, which ends into three main areas I've already talked about. So there could be precision therapeutics, precision diagnostics, or personalized medicine. So a lot of buzzwords, but here you see how this whole chain value gets from data to structure of data, the amplification of data based on algorithms through machine learning or deep learning for the creation of new drugs, for the understanding of ingredients, or for the development of new biomarkers. Super interesting. There are some pilots out there already. So I know that the Uniklinik Leipzig is co-working with a clinic Charité in Berlin. They have patient treatment programs already based on an app. It's called Myra. These are the first steps where oncology patients can have their peer-to-peer communications with other patients, and this program allows the tumor board, so the physicians who are in charge of your healthcare condition as an oncology patient, can talk to other healthcare professionals, and allows you to directly communicate to their own patients. And you see this bigger screenshot. This is from the Tumor Zentrum Munich. That's a very similar approach where physicians talk to their patients. Yeah, future outlook for healthcare companies implies future outlook for you as well. It's quite clear that innovative companies are more resistant to crisis, and I think the pharmaceutical company is really good in development and R&D. If they are able to transfer their capabilities in development through digital tools, digitalization, I think they have a very fruitful future ahead. The demand for healthcare companies is of course to create explicit knowledge, so that's as well in your direction to all the listeners in the audience. My recommendation is buckle yourself down into the knowledge of artificial intelligence, coherences, everything. You shouldn't be necessarily a data scientist, but understand what's happening there. There will be a new collaboration between academia, pharmaceutical manufacturers, academia and startups and manufacturers, and new alliances like Merck and Palantir, which I described in the beginning. And the need is to create an excellent center of data experts and translators. Maybe you could be a translator between business and physicians and data scientists. So it's a playground, a lot of things happening. Just two quotes, you know, that Bill Gates, even if he's very criticized at this moment, he has understood the power of artificial intelligence for all of our business. And Sergey Brin, one of the co-founders of Google, for him, it's the most decisive development in engineering, and that's remarkable in my eyes. The good thing is, I think you've already heard about the CEO, that's the Novartis CEO, jointly with the development of digitalization and the whole transformation process. He is already unbossing Novartis. That means a new style, a new way of working, and the style will be much more inclusive and digital driven. So that's awesome for you. I think that he's a role model, and a lot of other companies will adopt. And it's more about creativity and how companies embrace their employees in the future. Maybe some of you tend to join Novartis, so he's a very, let's say, exposed leader. So that's really exciting. And I talked to you in the beginning. For me, it's super important that you know you have a very exciting future ahead based on your studies you do currently, and if you head to the pharmaceutical industry. So there are two big bubbles. There should be a third one if we talk about the tech companies themselves. You have established pharma companies who are currently in different phases of their digitalization, which of course has a lot of chaperones to data, to artificial intelligence, to machine learning, to marketing in a digital world. And you have a super emerging landscape of healthcare startups, especially in Germany as well. Here are some companies, please don't mind, it's just a snippet of hundreds of thousands. I just shared with you this overwhelming chart with this big startup landscape. And as I told you in the beginning, digitalization is the catalyst movement. So it's really a great playground for you. And here just some closing remarks from my side. They might sound super bullish and worn out, and you have heard it a lot of times. But I really emphasize and will repeat it. So because those are one of my core philosophies I developed when I worked for Google or other companies, and this is really part of my conviction. So one is bigger than zero. That's a book title from Peter Thiel, one of the founders of PayPal, and one of the first investors of Facebook, for example. He has German roots as well. I think you know Peter Thiel. Whenever you've done something or whenever you make things happen, that's the 1-2 metric. So take massive action, just do things. Because if you just talk, you're at this zero level, and whenever you've invented something, brought a prototype to life, did something meaningful, you're already one step ahead. So one is always bigger than zero. And then one thing, so I failed several times in my life. I crashed sometimes. I didn't have a super smooth linear career. I tested out a lot of things in my life. So what I always recommend is that you start, that you fail fast, but learn fast. This is one of the core principles of Google as well. And of course, never stop learning. So I'm in a super learning curve currently. It's being out of the comfort zone. But on the other hand, it's really interesting how you can develop yourself and get into new spheres of thinking. If we talk about your personal career, so sometimes it's quite interesting to find a niche. In healthcare, there are a lot of niches and new roles will popping up. Be an expert here, and then share your knowledge. So this is one of three of a lot of philosophies I'm carrying in my heart. But that's out of my perspective super important. Really find your thing, and if it's not your thing, just change it. I mean, failing should be one of our let's say core experiences in the career world. So it's not bad. So pharmaceutical companies, of course, they have their problems in change programs because most of pharmaceutical companies are very established and they're struggling with change. But you're super young, or you're stepping into the healthcare world, and I just said it's the catalyst year. So is the merge of digitalization and the old world, and within that there's so many sparks flying around. So find your thing, your niche, and if it's not your niche, just change it. Perfect. So I can't flip to the next chart. I don't know why. So, but I'm at the end of my my little keynote. So hopefully you can still hear me. Okay, Dr. Russell can hear me. So that's great. So normally there's the last slide is the thank you slide. So I don't know why it's not popping up. So, but I'm at the end, and I'm open for some discussions.
Yeah, thank you for the inspiring talk, Joss. Really great. Before we now have a look at the questions, I just want to shortly welcome Christian Jansen. He's the managing director of the Goethe Business School and is part of the audience, as I just saw. Welcome, Christian. And now we have got already a few questions here, and I want to encourage everybody, please write down your questions and hand them in. We've got still 15 minutes left for a couple of questions, and I think a good question to start with is from Janos Siskos. He asks what the role is of Google, Apple, Facebook, and Amazon and the Chinese equal companies in the development of medicines and healthcare solutions. I think that's a very wide question, but an interesting one. And what's your opinion?
That's a very, very good question. So I think you are all aware that the big tech companies are super interested in healthcare, and they will step in. They will step in the game. So Amazon already built some ecosystems in the US. They bought PillPack, which is the customized drug delivery to patients. That's an Amazon-owned entity. And they created their own OTC products already. It's called Basic Care. It's established in the US. So Amazon is already building an ecosystem around healthcare. So for them, it's the next big thing. Of course, they will have some struggles in Europe. That's my hypothesis, because of regulatory reasons. And my open opinion is yes, we have to be very careful, because if one player owns the whole value chain, we have issues in not only data protection, but in the influence of just one company. But of course, it's super interesting for Amazon, and they're already, I would say, in that game. So they are learning very fast, and they're collecting data and analysis, especially in the US. Google. I would say Google and Apple, they're different companies in their approaches. So Google is building a lot of businesses around the diagnosis. So their principle is create better diagnosis and of course then choose the better therapy based on data. Google is a big data company, as you all know, and they're investing hundreds of millions into companies like Google X. Verily is their healthcare branch, and they're developing since years. So they're quite advanced. But when it comes to market entries, I know that Google is needs the help of pharmaceutical companies, and there are new, let's say, collaborations awakening. I know that Sanofi is working with Google. There are some other big companies like AbbVie and Abbott co-working with Google. I think there's a very big collaboration between. I think it's one of the big ones like Roche and Google as well. So they're trying to develop and co-create. Google brings the data and the knowledge around coding and programming, and the pharmaceutical players, they're very good in R&D and medicines, and the combination of this will create new businesses as well. So Google is coming from the data part. Apple is doing their own way with their Apple smartwatch. It's nearly an ecosystem around your own physical health. They're quite advanced. And all of the big tech companies and the Chinese as well, I think that all the big Chinese players like Tencent and Alibaba, they will create similar ecosystems. And I'm super honest to this. In Europe, in Germany, we're too slow. I think most of not only the population, but the managers in leading roles are not really paranoid enough to understand what's happening there, because the big companies, they will generate a big chunk of that business in the near future. Of course, there are some obstacles, there are some gray areas and regulations and legacies will prevent a lot of too fast movements, I would say, but they definitely will step in this game.
Okay. Then I think the next question, both of the next two questions focus on doctors in the future. I think the first question is the near future with teleclinic, which you talked about. Convenient access is of course a big advantage for patients. Beyond the technology and the medical expertise, physicians must be available. How can one make sure this does not become a bottleneck?
Well, that's a very good question, and this has, of course, a lot to do with attitudes. I think there might be some areas where physicians will be urged to apply new technologies. I think in radiology, it's a must, because it's well known that algorithms are better in visualization and value creation of pictures. They're far better in diagnosis, and the combination of the capabilities, so the skills of a physician and the database he's looking into, that's a must. So that will change dramatically, and I think if you don't change as a physician, you will get into massive problems. The same for dermatologists, I think. But of course, there will be areas where your question will be answered by a very fruitful combination of that there might be a physician who's able to read data, or he will someone assisting him, like a data scientist. So there will be new work constellations, and they need databases, but you as well, you need a human to translate the results or the hypothesis to patients. That can't be a machine in my eyes, but machines or algorithms are helping a lot, of course. So the whole treatment ecosystem will be better. There might be, so it's a generation thing. That's very clear in my perspective. So the new generations of physicians will be definitely more into this technology-driven world, much more open, much more connected, and it will be potentially part of the education, contemporary and in the future.
Yeah, thank you for the answer, because it was a really great answer, because you already answered the other question which Janos Siskos handed in already with it. And I think we are now at the end of, Daria is handed in another question, and Daria is alumna from our first course, which started 2016. So welcome, Daria. Given the number and diversity of companies and applications around healthcare digitalization, what do you think will emerge as a collaboration paradigm? can disease areas specific collaboration help to deliver patient-centric solutions?
Absolutely, absolutely. So I'm super convinced. So we have already seen some examples. Of course, I mean, we will experience or realize a lot of piloting and prototyping, and not every idea or collaboration will succeed. But I think we're taking big steps, and there will be, especially in oncology. So I've seen a lot of developments in oncology. There will be very interesting and successful developments on the one hand on drug development, and on the other hand what you've seen through I would say digital-based patient treatment. That's the communication idea around a platform where physicians talk to other experts around a specific cancer or tumor, and choose the right therapy out of a big database where you can say, okay, this kind of cancer is in 90% of the cases very helpful for the same kind of diagnosis. And I'm pretty sure that there will be a lot of areas where the database treatment will help. You have seen this Google example of Verily with the eye scan, where the blood vessels represent the potential risk of a heart strike. So this is something which we will have in the Regelversorgung, so in our daily health system in the next years for sure.
Okay. Yeah, then I think we are finished for today and also for the Summer Summit 2020. Thanks for joining, everybody. I hope you enjoyed it and learned also something. I just want to mention Janos Siskos is writing a master's thesis in the area of digital transformation, and asked that if you want, you can answer his questionnaire. The link is in the chat. I want to thank again Joss for your inspiring talk today, Susanna for organizing, and everybody have a nice weekend.
Thank you very much again for the invitation. It was a pleasure. Hopefully I really inspired. So there's a lot of things coming up, very exciting things. To Janos, just send me a mail through LinkedIn. You will find me. It's Joss from Retinal, and we will catch up. I have some hints for you as well. Some literature around digital transformation is my hobby, so don't hesitate to reach out to me. So happy Friday and thanks again.
Bye.
Catch up soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.